If you're just getting started with the gluten-free diet and you're feeling overwhelmed, trust me, I've been there. In this video, I'm going to share 5 things I wish somebody had told me back when I first started the gluten-free diet. Especially the mental and emotional side of it that just nobody talks about. For starters, it's helpful to know what gluten is. This is something that I really wish I would have known back at the beginning because it would have helped me understand how to cook gluten-free, how to shop gluten-free, and really how to live gluten-free. Gluten is a protein that is found in wheat, barley, and rye. And that protein is in a lot of different things. Things like malt, durum, kamut. All of those are different things that contain gluten that you wouldn't necessarily know by looking at an ingredient label. In a future video, we're going to talk all about reading labels and how to know exactly what is gluten-free and what is safe to eat. But what you need to know right now is that gluten is a protein that is found in wheat, barley, and rye, and variations on those things. It's also helpful to know what the purpose of gluten is, because it really does help you understand why things that are gluten-free are the way they are. Gluten adds structure and flexibility to baked goods and different things that it's in. So, for example, when you have gluten in bread, it actually gives it a chance to stretch, to expand, to rise. That's why gluten-free bread is so small. And we're going to talk about that later on in this video. So stay tuned for more on gluten-free bread. Having gluten in things like baked goods allows it to be kneaded, allows it to have structure and hold together more. So while gluten does have a purpose, it isn't necessarily something that all of our bodies agree with. Basically, for some people, gluten, it causes a lot of problems. In the next video, I'm going to talk a whole lot more about why people are gluten-free and why it is often known as a weight loss trend when it's really not. But going gluten-free, it's not a trend. It's legit health issues that bring on a gluten-free diet for some people. Give this video a like if you're still figuring it out so we can figure this out together. The number one thing I wish I would have known when we started our gluten-free journey is that pre-made gluten-free foods are just not worth the expense. And I am talking about the cookies, I'm talking about breads, but I'm also talking about things like chicken nuggets, gluten-free pizzas, gluten-free pre-made meals that on a normal diet filled with gluten would be an easy toss in the cart to feed the kids for dinner meal that just really aren't worth it when they're gluten-free. Not only are they very, very expensive because of all the ingredients that take to replace gluten, but they're really not usually great for your gut. These pre-made products, generally speaking, have a lot of extra ingredients in them because once you take gluten out of something, it doesn't have structure. It starts to lose important pieces that hold it together. It also might not rise. It might not taste the same. So a lot of things are added in to replace that one little protein. There are so many better options, and one of the best places to start is foods that are naturally gluten-free. And I am talking whole foods, like hitting up the produce section, fruits, vegetables, meats, things like that that are naturally gluten-free that can add a whole lot more nutritional value to your diet. Had I jumped into cooking gluten-free much sooner in our gluten-free journey, I would have saved so much money and so much time. Now, there's things like gluten-free bread, and that is a whole topic in itself. So we will get to that later in this video, so stay tuned. But inside of my ebook, Going Gluten-Free Getting Started, I highlight a lot of these things, but I also include my favorite cookbooks that I wish I would have started our gluten-free journey with. The number 2 thing I wish somebody would have talked to me about before starting my gluten-free diet is the mental side that comes with it. There is a whole level of grief that comes with removing gluten from your diet. And I know that might sound ridiculous, but unless you're living in the gluten-free diet, you might not understand that. There is a grieving period of no longer being able to eat these foods that you have grown up eating. It's not as easy to swing through a drive-thru after a late night practice with one of your kids. There is all of these new things that come with a gluten-free diet, and it doesn't just happen on your plate. Shopping for groceries can be oh so frustrating. When I first walked into a grocery store and saw the price and the limitations of things that were labeled gluten-free, I literally sat down and burst into tears. There was half of an aisle of food and it was so much more expensive. But like seriously, $9 for a loaf of bread, you know what I mean. But There is this level of grief that comes with going gluten-free. And it really does take a mental battle to get through it. And I believe that is why so many people give up so quickly on the gluten-free diet, when if they take time to go through the processing of the mental side of going gluten-free, so much more will come on the other side of it. You're not just changing the food on your plate, you're really truly changing how you live. And it might not feel worth it right now, but as you start to heal your body and as you start to see the changes from going gluten-free, a whole new world of health is opened up, and it is the most amazing world to be in. Along with the mental battle is the idea of going gluten-free and healing. It takes time. I thought within a few days I was going to start to see things happen on my gluten-free diet. I thought that bloating was going to disappear. I thought the pain in my stomach would go away right away, but I was wrong. Something I very quickly learned is that it actually takes between 6 months and 2 years for gluten to fully get out of your system. So if you're only a few weeks into your gluten-free diet, it's coming. Like, give it time. It is going to get there. Gluten doesn't just remove from your body right away, and there is no way to detox your body from gluten. It is truly a process of staying away from gluten and letting your body take time to heal itself. Being patient is the number one thing that everybody misses out on the gluten-free diet. Everybody complains about bread, they're upset about pasta, but truly the biggest thing is healing and being patient while you're healing. That is the hardest part of the gluten-free diet. Comment patience below if you are feeling it right now and losing that patience or wanting some encouragement on this healing journey. While healing and patience are one of the hardest things to experience as part of the gluten-free journey, the biggest complaint I hear and the biggest thing that I quickly learned is that gluten-free bread is not the same as regular bread. Gluten-free bread lacks that structure. It lacks the rising that comes from bread filled with gluten, which makes sense because that's gluten's job. It helps bread and things like bread rise. I quickly was like, we don't need bread. I'm just going to skip the bread. But then I went a year or two without eating bread in general, and I began to realize that there's nothing inherently wrong with gluten-free bread. It's not the same as gluten-filled bread, but there's nothing wrong with eating it. Yes, it's $9. Yes, it doesn't taste exactly the same, but when the alternative is a lettuce wrap or eating something on a bed of rice, sometimes you just really need to have the bread. So while you might think gluten-free bread is terrible, it's better than no bread. And inside of my Going Gluten-Free Bread guide, I actually outline all of my best tips for not only making bread taste better, but making it last longer and making it more enjoyable. My number one secret though, toast it. The last lesson was a really hard one for me to learn. I did not realize that gluten was in more than just food. Gluten is in things like Play-Doh, lipstick, and medication and supplements. I learned the hard way that my allergy medicine was not gluten-free. I went for about 3 months trying to figure out how I was getting accidentally glutened. It brought on anxiety, I was having bloating issues, my stomach was a mess, and I could not figure out what it was in my house that was causing me to suffer. It turned out it was my allergy medicine, something I had taken for so long that it shouldn't have been a big deal, but it had gluten in it. People don't realize that things like chapstick or lipstick might have gluten, and if you start to see that in there, then you need to watch out for it, because when you lick your lips, you're ingesting gluten. These are little things that I wouldn't have thought of and were easy mistakes that I made early on in my gluten-free journey, and I'm just here to share it with you. The best thing you can do is always scan things with a gluten-free scanner app or go online and check the ingredients. I love the Fig app, and I will link that below in the description, but it has so many products in it, and it is so helpful for ruling out things that are gluten-free, and in my case, dairy-free as well. So if you're just starting out, just know that this gluten-free diet, it gets easier over time. Despite what people will tell you, it does get easier. You'll begin to learn what's safe. You'll begin to find foods that you love again, and you'll even maybe start to appreciate gluten-free bread because it's better than no bread. If you're ready to take the guesswork out of getting started with the gluten-free diet, download my ebook, Going Gluten-Free, Getting Started. I'm linking it below, and it has everything you need to start your gluten-free diet and get a better understanding of this journey that you are now embarking on. Make sure to keep watching. In the next video, we're going to talk more about those who should be gluten-free, why they're gluten-free, and why the gluten-free diet gets such a weird reputation in the weight loss world.